What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Fantasy Insiders. It's the early waiver wire show for Week 12. I'm David Kitchen alongside Jeff Johnson, alongside Josh ADHD. Gentlemen, how are we doing this fine day?
Josh, you go first.
Oh, I got to go first. Man, I'm doing great. It's we had some really crappy weather here in Houston today, so it was a nice day to cozy up inside and watch some football. And football was great today, man. I had a lot of fun watching ball.
Yeah, it was great, unless you're Alex Smith.
Oh, God.
What?
I hate to say this.
Do you think someone said to him, like in the crowd?
No, David. Don't make this joke. Don't make the obvious joke.
Okay.
Hey, Alex. Break a leg today, buddy.
Yeah. And then afterwards, they're like, oh, should have just said, go out there and do good. That's how it is. So, craziness, everything that's going on with the Alex Smith and Joe Theismann like comparisons. Like,
yes.
That's beyond crazy.
Yeah, it's insane.
So, yeah, like line it up here, David. Not only did they break same leg on the same day, 33 years apart.
Joe Theismann was there. It happened on the 40-yard line, and I think the score was the same as well.
You know, the most messed up part about all of this is that Joe Theismann actually said he felt sorry for him, because that's just not in Joe Theismann's wheelhouse.
Right.
Empathy.
Well, he did, and he didn't try to kiss anybody either afterwards. So good job there. Let's talk about the obvious performances. Listen, I told everyone, I was like, listen, guys, Gus Edwards, this guy is someone you want to start in all of your DFS contests. No, I didn't say that. I did poo-poo. I did poo-poo Alex Collins. And after he scored that touchdown, I'm like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. And then, Josh, what happened with Alex Collins?
Your guess is as good as mine. I can only assume that, and I saw a tweet out there that postulated that maybe this is a migraine issue, that maybe he just couldn't deal with it as well as he has been, throughout the past couple of seasons, and they just needed to get somebody else in there. And that worked out obviously really well for Gus Edwards, who's on my best ball roster in our league, by the way.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, baby. Finally get a little payback off of that one.
How, what round was that in? Are you talking about the Insider Superflex Dynasty League?
Yeah, I think he might have been my 29th round pick.
Well,
maybe 30th round. He might have been the last guy taken.
Good for you. I have DJ Moore in that team, so we'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's stay on this. Let's stay on this not Jacksonville. Let's stay on this Baltimore thing. Jeff, Gus Edwards, Lamar Jackson going forward. What's your take here?
Yeah, it's a dilemma for everyone not named Lamar Jackson on the Baltimore Ravens, because if we're talking about fantasy production going forward, aside from Lamar Jackson, I don't really want anybody on my fantasy teams, not even Gus Edwards, because Lamar Jackson had 27 carries today, guys.
That's
27 carries, 170 yards. So, of course, he looked great, but he's basically going to be taking up the majority of all of the fantasy points because he's not being asked to throw the ball a lot. If you looked at the types of passes he was throwing today, very conservative. So all of those wide receivers are going to be limited with their upside. Certainly that playmaker is Lamar Jackson. And if he doesn't find anything through the air, he's going to take off and run, in addition to the designed runs that they have for him. So I think the Ravens are just going to try to win as many ball games as they can with Lamar Jackson. And that means limiting what everybody else on the team is going to be able to do. So, yeah, if I'm rostering anybody else on the Ravens, I'm probably sitting them for the remainder of the season.
I'm not quite as dim on it. I'm looking at the numbers. They ran the ball 54 times today.
Yeah.
If you're getting that kind of volume out of a rushing offense, even if Jackson swallows up half of it, it's a lot of rushing volume still to go around. And
Gus Edwards still had 17 carries.
He had 17 touches. Collins had 7 on his own. And, those guys aren't going to get any targets because running quarterbacks, it's been relatively proven that they don't throw to the running back. So, we could throw passing volume out the window. But if these guys are going to get heavy carry volume in addition to, the threat of Jackson running, I think there's some value here. So,
well, okay, let's go ahead and play this one out. To the extent we need to. What do you think of Gus Edwards going forward? Is he a top 24 running back for you, Josh? How much do you like him?
No, he's a streamer type for sure. Right. I mean, top 24, that's very risky in my opinion. This is one of those situations you just need to watch later in the week and see what the injury situation's like. And if it looks like Edwards is going to get, 15 to 20 touches, I think you could do a whole lot worse on the end of your bench.
Yeah, I guess that's my feeling as well, is that I think the lane's open well for Gus Edwards in this offense to do something, obviously, to get touchdowns if they're near the goal line as well. But let's also not forget that there's something to be said about Dalvin Cook, about Ty Montgomery there, about Buck Allen there. Like there's 4 running backs on this roster.
We haven't even talked about Kenneth Dixon yet, who's about to be activated off IR.
So a Gus Edwards approach, and not knowing the migraine issue of what happened there, the Gus Edwards approach, it's like a 5% thing. If you have $1,000 or if you have $100 left in your fab, and you want to spend 5% because you haven't spent anything, sure, but you're not spending anything. And
that's what I was saying.
Right.
You basically just made my argument for me.
Right. No, I agree. I agree, but it's like sometimes you want to put a bid out there and see if it sticks. And if not, let someone else overpay for them. But right now we're also in the season where it's week 12. If you have a ton of resources, if you have a ton of fab to spend, then you're not going to get a lot of a lot of chances to spend on a guy unless you are in a very shallow league and someone like Trequan Smith is there. So I think we're all in agreement that Gus Edwards is a proceed with caution guy, but I am putting in a bid for him just in case it sticks.
Hey, what the hell? Let's play lottery. Maybe Gus Edwards hit the big.
That's all it is, man. That's
every time you play Gus Edwards, though, you're closing your eyes, you're looking away, and you're clicking the mouse before you hit submit.
You've got so many injuries on your roster that you're left with YOLO plays.
Well, next week also you got some buys. Next week you got some buys. You got Kareem Hunt. Those Kareem Hunt owners are not going to be able to play him. So, there might be some opportunities for Gus Edwards to fit in your roster if he's named the starter.
Gurley's going to be on bye next week as well.
Yeah.
So
Gurley guys. Yes. All right. So he was a big story. The other big story was this New Orleans Saints team. It's been so long ago since they lost to the Tampa Bay Bucks in week 1. And now they are just throttling everybody. And you look at today, Trequan Smith looked like wide receiver 1. Jeff, what's your thought on Trequan Smith going forward?
I thought what was most interesting today about Trequan Smith is that they were dialing up plays where he was the number 1 option. It's not like there was a progression situation where Michael Thomas wasn't open. He's heavily involved in the offense, which is a little bit different than what we've seen so far this season from him. Sean Payton's talked about a progression for his rookie wide receivers and running backs as well, how it's almost like a storyline that plays out through the season. They want these players to be in certain positions at certain times of the year to make them most successful. And I think Trequan Smith now has worked his way into a number 2 position amongst wide receivers in New Orleans. I expect him not to do what he did today every single week, but certainly somebody on his good days, he's going to do this again, but I think he's somebody you feel confident in as your wide receiver number 3.
We've already seen him have a really big game before this.
But that was like 3 random shots. Right?
That was long down the field. That's what, Jeff, if you let me finish, thanks. I was going to finish this sentence. He had 13 targets today. That's a lot. So Trequan Smith, he's a guy that if he's available on your waiver wire, you're pretty much spending whatever to get him. Especially for those owners like John Brown owners, whose wide receiver 3 is now useless. Now is the time that you would want to replace that guy with Trequan Smith. Any disagreement there that he's the top ad in leagues that he's still available in?
He's number 1. Okay. Because he faces the Cowboys next week, who have done a very excellent job of covering number 1 receivers for the most part, and will probably take some of the cues what Philadelphia did against Michael Thomas today, which I think was completely blanket him in coverage, which led to Trequan Smith's huge day. Dallas has Byron Jones. Byron Jones is a damn good cornerback. And if they give him some help on Michael Thomas, they're going to force the issue with Trequan again.
Yeah.
So I think, he's definitely number one.
I would rather have DJ Moore rest of season if DJ Moore is available.
Ooh, all right. Let's talk about DJ Moore in a second. After we talk about this same game, we've got Josh Adams. And Derek L. in the YouTube chat says, what are y'all thoughts on Josh Adams? Has Gus taken Collins' job or just a 1 week thing? About Josh Adams, though, he was like the only thing that went right today for the Eagles. If you look at his measurables, they're not pretty. In fact, they're about as gruesome as Josh Adams or as Alex Smith's broken leg. Like, he is not a fast guy, but he did good today. In this Eagles offense,
was fantastic.
Yeah, maybe he's got game speed. Maybe he's a gamer. Josh, what are your thoughts on Josh Adams? Josh ADHD.
I think Josh Adams is an excellent pickup. I would take him like light years over Gus Edwards that we just talked about, because Josh Adams is going to get snaps and touches every single week. He's carving his role out in the offense. He's taking over where Corey Clement and Wendell Smallwood haven't been able to take over. So his touchdown run today was very encouraging. I think he will probably see increased touches going forward. The only thing the Eagles really need is some game script in their favor. They haven't had that the past couple of weeks. So I think Adams is going to be even more favorable when the Eagles have a lead, because, they talk about him as he's not a big pass catching guy. He had 6 targets today. His target volume was fine. So I think he's probably like 1B or 1C on the list this week, outside of Trequan Smith and DJ Moore.
All right. Jeff, your thoughts on Josh Adams before we go to DJ Moore?
Totally agree. He looked natural catching the ball out of the backfield as well. And how fast does he need to be at 6'2", 220 pounds? That's not necessarily something I expect in his skill set going forward. Yeah, I think he's carved out a role, and he's going to be the running back I want to invest in on the waiver wire this week.
All right. Let's get to DJ Moore now. We know the editor-in-chief, Ben Gretsch, has been harping on DJ Moore. We've been waiting for him, even playing him in cash a couple of weeks ago where he did not perform. He's just its consistency has been an issue. Today, though, made some very difficult catches, had a beautiful touchdown catch. Jeff, overall thoughts on DJ Moore? Because you said you like him rest of the season over Trequan Smith.
I love him. I've loved him since the preseason. It's hard to find something I don't like about DJ Moore, because it's a Carolina Panthers offense that has a very unique quarterback, running back, and Christian McCaffrey that can do a lot of different things. Greg Olsen as a safety valve at tight end that's a weapon as well. DJ Moore could be the number 1 wide receiver in Carolina in an offense that's kind of like a mini version of the Kansas City Chiefs. So when I see 7 for 157 and a touchdown on 8 targets, it's not something that I think isn't going to be repeatable over the course of the rest of the season. This is a really dynamic offense in Carolina. Only scored 19 points today. I understand that. But I really like what I've seen out of the offense, especially over the last 6 weeks or so. And I think DJ Moore is going to play a huge part rest of the season. So, yeah, I'm excited to go grab him. I think he has top 15 wide receiver upside going forward. Not necessarily what I expect from him, but I think he has that upside.
All right.
I want to add a quick point on DJ Moore really quick. Jeff, you mentioned the dynamic offense that Carolina runs. I think we need to keep that in mind with DJ Moore, because he's not going to be a jam play every week. He's not wide receiver 1. You don't want him to be wide receiver 1, because his stat line today does not happen if he is wide receiver 1. He got his line today because Darius Slay was on Devin Funchess, and Devin Funchess, he had 8 targets. He only caught 2 of them. He was swallowed up, and Carolina was behind the entire second half. So he had a game script in his favor, and he had coverage in his favor. So if that's going to happen every single week, yeah, I think DJ Moore is a good play. But if we see the potential script where Carolina is going to be ahead, or if Funchess is going to have a better matchup, I think you might want to tread lightly.
Yeah. You have DJ Moore, though, drafted last year as the first overall wide receiver off the board. He's going to be the wide receiver 1. They want him to be the wide receiver.
I agree. Eventually, I agree. I just don't think it's this season.
Okay.
I disagree. I do. I don't.
I'm kind of in the middle. He's. I'm not sure that they are that pass heavy. And they've got a lot of different options. Like, I just think that I kind of agree that he's going to have good games. He might have some bad games though.
Yeah. So that's that. I mean, we talk about pass heavy. Carolina threw the ball 37 times today, and they don't do that very often. I mean, they very rarely throw it 30 times a game.
Mm-hmm.
So
have you guys ever heard of Stephon Diggs?
Yeah, that dude's good. He also plays in a high volume pass offense.
Yeah, DJ Moore is going to be better than Stephon Diggs next year.
Dude,
I'm talking top 10 wide receiver next year. I
love
have
that
no doubts about it.
I think that's a fantastic call. I mean, he's a great player. But his volume is not conducive to a guy you're going to jam every week. He's just
he gonna get that volume next year, Josh. He gonna get that volume.
But that doesn't help me right now, though, right? I agree with you 100%, but it doesn't help me right now on waivers.
On the opposite side, I'm going to just go with a pretty deep ad. Kenny Galladay was amazing.
That's not very deep. That's not very deep.
He's shallow. Let me get Josh. Can I get?
He's an ad in 4-team leagues. Go grab him.
Bruce Ellington.
Oh yeah, that's my boy.
9 targets. Golden Tate gets traded away. Bruce Ellington kind of fills in that slot role. Their schedule, not the best, but in a PPR league, if you are in a deep 14-team league, it's a deep ad, possibly stash. Bruce Ellington, he's athletic. Played with the 49ers. We really liked him. And he played with the Texans. We really liked him. Former point guard there for the South Carolina Gamecocks. So he is Jeff, you're looking at me like that doesn't mean anything. And it doesn't, but I still like to say that. Like, how many wide receivers were point guards? Did you know that
Bruce Ellington played basketball? Did you know that he played basketball?
Like, usually when you talk about basketball players, you think about like tight ends.
Yeah, he's also a proficient chess player, which means he's always thinking ahead, 2 moves ahead.
That's right. All right, checkmate there. Let's move on to the tight end position. Jeff, we were talking about Jonnu Smith earlier. Tight end, again, it's like if you don't have the top 3 or 4 guys, it's a streaming type of week each and every week. Jonnu Smith, your thoughts on him? Could he be an every week guy?
He could be an every week guy, but as you and I both know, I don't really think this is a Titans offense that's going to be high scoring rest of season. I mean, I've had my doubts. The Titans coming into the season, we all felt very good about the Titans, but after 2 or 3 weeks, I began to question, just how good they were going to be. Maybe Matt LaFleur isn't Sean McVay. Maybe some of the elite options in this offense aren't necessarily elite, like Marcus Mariota, Corey Davis, Delaney Walker goes down. All that to say is this. I think that the Titans, if they're going to be successful, they need to lean on Dion Lewis. They need to use their most skilled players on offense. And Jonnu Smith is one of those players. He's not like your typical grading tight end that blocks and occasionally gets a 10-yard out route or something like that. This is a guy they can use in some different ways. He's effective in space. He has good hands, and he can move too. So I think Jonnu Smith, rest of season, you're probably looking at a guy that's better than some of those options just outside the top 10, right? Guys that you're hoping hit every week. Jonnu Smith could be consistent rest of season.
All right. As far as injuries today, obviously the Alex Smith injury is something we need to talk about. The benching, you had Fitzpatrick being benched, and then you also had Doug Martin had an ankle injury. He pulled himself out of the game, and then it was reported later that he had to inject himself at halftime. We didn't really see him in the second half. The Raiders did win this week, so let's start there. As far as Doug Martin's out, they don't have Marshawn Lynch. Like, Jalen Richard is on most teams. So you think, Josh, I bet shallow leagues he's available?
Yeah, I bet he's still available in all of your 10-team leagues for sure.
All right, well, let's say he is available. How serious are you taking him?
I think I would not take him as seriously as Josh Adams, but he's probably pretty close.
Jeff?
So go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, me? Okay. Well, I'm with you. I mean, I'm with you. Like I said, Josh Adams is the running back I want to add this week. And outside of that, I'm not really hyped about anybody at the running back position.
And their next game is against the Ravens. So kind of gross there. So I'm with you. If Jalen Richard is available, then yes, grab him. I'm not interested in DeAndre Washington against the Ravens, though. Just hard pass. It'd have to be.
Okay. I said I wasn't hyped about any running backs. Let's say that Kerryon Johnson's injury is as bad as some people have thought it is. It's a torn ACL or something like that. Theo Riddick is owned in a lot of leagues. Is LeGarrette Blount somebody you want to add?
Yeah, I think you add Blount back, or maybe in 16 team super deep leagues, it'd be like Zach Zinner. And I'm talking way down the list, Zach Zinner.
Guess who they wish they had back?
No, they don't.
Amir Abdullah. Basically the same thing, Josh. Amir Abdullah and Barry Sanders.
False.
Yeah, I'm not hyped about LeGarrette Blount, really, especially the schedule.
You're not high on Blount?
I'm not high on Blount. Wait.
Where there's smoke, there's fire.
It was in California this week.
No, gosh.
Let's say I was high on Blount the last couple of days.
Glad that's a marijuana joke on the show.
No, that wasn't. I'm a big LeGarrette Blount fan.
Okay. Let's move on. Please.
It's legal out there.
I know. All right. So let's as far as the quarterback situation, Colt McCoy going to be the starter in Washington, has some rushing ability. Looked good today when he was in there. Of course, teams couldn't game plan for him. Thoughts on Colt McCoy going forward? Like, where would you put him versus Jameis Winston? If someone dropped Jameis Winston last week, where would you put those two, Josh?
I would put Jameis Winston about 5,000 miles above Colt McCoy.
Jeff, I'm sorry, Josh. Go ahead.
No, that's really all that needs to be said. I mean, Tampa Bay, we know what we're getting. Yeah, you want Tampa Bay quarterback, whoever that's going to be, whatever week it is, even if it's only for a half.
Do you think this is now Jameis Winston's job for the rest of the season?
If he doesn't throw 4 interceptions in a game, yeah, I think it is.
Big if.
That's a totally big if. I mean, these guys, they're playing this air raid offense and they are degaffing the ball everywhere, both of them. So it's just, I think it's a matter of time, but you take what you can get with either one of them because it's going to be better than Colt McCoy either way.
I'm a little less enthusiastic about Winston. I would put Jameis Winston about 4,975 miles ahead of Colt McCoy. I'm worried about everybody else in the Redskins offense. However, Jordan Reed looked pretty good. I want Adrian Peterson on my team, I guess, is the one thing I would say. But the entire offense in Washington is an absolute disaster right now. No offensive lineman. Chris Thompson is still out. Josh Doxson's the number 1 wide receiver.
What do we think is the probability that Chris Thompson's available on a lot of waiver wires? Because he's been injured all damn season. Like at some point, guys are just going to cut bait on him, I would think. So he might be a guy that's out there waivers. If he is, I think you got to add him, especially with Colt McCoy playing quarterback.
Agreed.
And Jordan Reed's a great call because I think that's another player that people may have cut bait on after so many dud weeks in a row. They may have just gone somewhere else and started streaming tight ends. I think he's going to be an excellent pickup if he's available, especially in like a 12-team league if somehow he's available.
All right, let's get to streamers next week, QB streamers. We just talked about Tampa Bay. Guess who plays Tampa Bay next week? San Francisco.
Yes.
Guess who's going to be the starting quarterback for San Francisco next week?
Oh, yes.
Nick the Stick.
Can I use his full name? Can I use his full name?
Yes.
Okay, Big Dick Nick. We're going to get some Big Dick Nick.
All right. Well, I didn't know that was his full name. Probably wouldn't have let you say his full name.
It's short for Richard. It's short for Richard. Big Richard.
Two different nicknames. I'm sure Nick's like, whoa. It's not Nick.
I mean, Dave called him Nick the Stick. That's like the same thing.
Really, it's not. We'll talk off the air.
The man's a
tripod. That's called a log. Right? That would be Nick the Log.
Yeah.
Or a branch.
Oh boy.
Not a twig.
Oh boy. All right. Well, other quarterbacks that you like for next week as far as looking at the schedule, like streaming. I mean, really, it's you're picking Tampa Bay. If Eli can have a good week, if all these other teams can have a good week, who else can have a good week next week, Josh?
I think that you might want to look at, I think you definitely will look at whoever's playing for the Dolphins, whether that's Tannehill or Osweiler. They are playing in the Dome, playing at Indianapolis, a team that allows a ton of short completions. And although Tennessee totally crapped the bed against them today, somehow, I think this defense is still very exploitable, especially for a team that likes to complete short passes like the Dolphins. So I think whoever's starting there, I think that's a good look. I would certainly look at, Johnny Manziel, if he's still out there against the Bengals, I think he's a good play. Or not Johnny Manziel.
I love Johnny Manziel.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I can't believe I did that. No, it's Baker Mayfield. Like Johnny Manziel, if
same
Manziel
thing.
had been a good NFL player, So we got him. I think you might want to look at Eli Manning next week, potentially. So I mean, the Philly defense is still exploitable through the pass. And I think that's going to be an option. And other than that, I don't see a ton out there that I like.
Yeah, I like Nick Mullins. I like the Baker Mayfield call. Maybe Bortles at Buffalo, but
that was the other one I was kind of eyeballing. But Buffalo plays pretty decent defense at home.
Yeah,
so I think I'd shy away from that one.
Jeff, who would you?
I mean, if Lamar Jackson is on the waivers, you need to pick him up and play.
Right.
But aside from that, I think that Big Stick Nick against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is the play. I expect a big game from him. I mean, the Bucs are terrible stopping the pass, and Nick Mullins in 2 weeks as a starting quarterback has shown that the moment's not too big for him. So I think he's a good play next week against the Bucs for sure.
All right. So there we go. Big Stick ideology. That's what we're looking at next week. Big Stick Nick.
I think Big Stick Nick goes 275 and 2 touchdowns.
Hey, a little bit of U.S. history here. Who had the Big Stick format?
Who had the Big Stick format?
Or it was like
softly and carry the big stick.
Softly. Speak softly and carry a big stick.
Yeah, that was Roosevelt, right?
It was Teddy Roosevelt.
Yep.
There you go. See, so sharp.
Check out that big brain on Jeff.
So sharp. All right. So, that will do it. It's fun stuff. Guys, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure you catch us on the Sirius XM Midnight Show. We will also be popping in various times throughout the week. I'm sure we'll be answering questions on Thursday for Thanksgiving. So, that's something that you might want to look forward. Hope everyone has a good Thanksgiving. Oh, we do have a few other questions.
Let's get them, man.
Yeah. Okay. What happened in Baltimore with Collins? Didn't watch the switch at running back. Can you elaborate? That was from Joel Rodriguez. Yes, we don't know yet. But Gus Edwards is the man. Maybe a migraine issue, but we just do not know. And then Emmanuel Sanders had 4 catches for 56 yards today since the Demaryius Thomas trade. Is it over for Emmanuel Sanders because he's drawing the number 1 corner? It's a good question. Josh?
I don't think it is. No, I think today was just a tough circumstance. I mean, the Chargers are good. I mean, it's just like they can defend wide receivers, and Sanders is pretty much matchup proof for the most part, but Keenum is not. Keenum's not a great quarterback, and so we're just going to have to kind of take our licks where we can with these guys. The Broncos are playing against the Steelers next week. I expect that Sanders will see a lot of Joe Hayden, but I think he can beat Joe Hayden. So I'm not scared of Sanders going forward at all.
And it's not like opposing defenses were really scared of Demaryius Thomas before he got traded. So they were already treating Manny Sanders as if he was the number 1 receiver before the trade even happened. So I'm not worried either.
All right. Big licks, big sticks. And this week we're going to have big turkey thighs. That's right. For Thanksgiving. All right. So on behalf of Jeff Johnson, on behalf of Josh ADHD, I'm David Kitchen. We'll see you next week. We're talking about league winners. We're up against the playoffs when you're only bidding with 4 other teams that really care at that point in the season. We care, and we'll see you next week here on the Fantasy Insiders Early Waiver Week Show. We'll see you then.